Meeting to order at 2:04. Minutes or see the minutes?
Yeah.
We have a copy over here. December 16th. Is there a motion to approve?
Can I just make a comment on the minutes? Or you wanna,
Let's do the motion second.
okay,
Motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from December 16th.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
See Martin. Second. And Vinnie?
yeah, if you look at the minutes. The motion was made by Ben Solomon for the excavator.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, Ben was not on the committee until the 21st, when the selectmen put him on the committee.
Oh,
So I don't know if he could really make that motion. And the other thing is, when the motion was made, there was no dollar value put on the motion.
it's just a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. What was the motion? Just to.
Didn't it say to buy the,
Well, this committee can't authorize a purchase. That goes to the Board of Selectmen. This is a recommendation by the
okay,
committee.
well, I would just,
You can re-motion it.
yeah, I would re-motion it, just. In case,
I'll make the motion again, non pro
yeah,
tem.
you could, now you can.
Say verbatim. It's open now.
Yeah, she doesn't know that though.
It's open, but.
Well, I think we have to do the minutes. I do the minutes as amended?
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, I just to keep everything straight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody looked into it.
Sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we'll amend the minutes for Ben Solnit not to be on the committee, but be a guest. And the motion would be, I guess, null.
Yeah.
It would have to be, yeah. And we'll re-motion at this meeting.
Adjourn the meeting. And also adjourn the meeting. Ben was busy that day. Don't need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Don't need a motion.
No, you know,
All right, so as amended, these minutes,
A minute, yeah,
yes.
yep,
okay, all those in favor?
I,
Thank you, Vinnie. Let's go back up. What's next? Discussion. I did send out, I only got the final rule from Treasury. I'm gonna send that out to everybody. Actually, that was the entire final rule from the Treasury. It did loosen things up a bit, luckily. Municipalities, they realized they were trying to make one size fits all, and it doesn't really work with a tiny town like Morris and a city like New York City. So that was sent out. And we also sent out this morning an updated spreadsheet. Ron, did you get that spreadsheet?
Yes, I did.
Where are we? Before we get too far into that, we do have a guest here, Jim Simoncelli from he's the director, executive director at Morris Housing Authority. And a proposal for ARPA funds from the Morris Housing Authority. I only had so many copies. You want this? Sure.
no, I'll
Listen along.
listen along.
All right, Jim, do you want to, you're proposing?
Yeah, so what Tom has there is a proposal I put together based on some of the findings from the housing plan that was just put together and approved. We're actually in a unique situation where the plot of land right next to Eldridge is for sale. So we have an option to purchase that land through June 30 of this year. And if we were to receive funds for that land, we would do some pre-development on potential addition to Eldridge and adding to the infrastructure of the well system at Eldridge, because historically we've had some issues with that. So this proposal is to purchase the land and to do some pre-development on that land.
Jim, this is Ben Poletsky. How many, if you had to speculate at this point, how many units would that?
So we've done initial soil testing, which gives us a maximum number of bedrooms, which is 21. Correlating to units, we would probably look between 8 and 12 units. But that also depends on the well. That's why in the proposal, if people can see the spreadsheet, digging a test well will really dictate how much water flow is assumed from that, obviously from that well, plus a second or third well. So we're looking 8 to 12-ish units, somewhere in there.
Maureen?
Hi, Maureen Fitzpatrick. Would you dig the test well before you purchase the land?
No, we cannot do that until we own the land. Or we receive funding for that and get permission from the current owners. So it would be a lot easier to do some of the pre-development if we own the land first. That is the number one line item, and the number one goal is to own the land, and then we can kind of determine where those units would go and do some of that other stuff that's listed there.
Oh.
But if the well does not pass, what is the option there after you've owned the land?
What's that? I couldn't hear you.
If you own the land and then do the well test and the well test fails, what option do you have there besides having a nice piece of property?
Well, we're hoping the well, that's why we would do the well test. That kind of dictates how we would move forward with anything.
And the owner would not allow that test beforehand?
We haven't brought that up because of the cost associated with it. We would need funding for that in order to do that.
Got it.
And one of the reasons we haven't brought that up to them is if we were to dig a well, it would dictate, if the property was sold to somebody else, where a house or apartments or whatever would be built.
Got it.
So we would be dictating something for a different seller. So purchasing the land is the number one priority, and then looking at those pre-development pieces would be secondary.
Another option, a possibility, is to contact the current water company operator, which is Grella, and see if there's any option of tying into the existing water system of Eldridge. Say they could not get water on this piece of property. That is that possibility if there's enough extra in the water system. It is tight. I think we have 2 wells active and 1 dormant right now.
Yeah, and I did talk to George, Tom, and George Grella. He was the one that really proposed digging 1 test well and tying in the system, regardless who's supporting what, because of the history of well issues. If one system could support the other one, tying it in is the best option.
Jim, this is Ben Poletsky. What is the waiting list for Eldridge right now? How many? Can you comment on that?
Yeah, it's probably, and through the housing plan, It's probably close to 40 people, which doesn't really sound like a lot, but when you have only 20 units,
Sounds
that
like a lot.
probably
Yeah.
projects almost 5 years,
Okay.
for 4 or 5 years.
Obviously, there's a need.
Yeah, and I'm the director in Litchfield as well, and the need, it's similar in terms of the waiting list. I'm about to close the waiting list in Litchfield because of how long it is. So there's a tremendous need for continuing to build affordable housing.
So to clarify the ask, I see several line items. Is the total estimated cost, is that the ask being requested to ARPA, or is it the land purchase?
So the land purchase is the number one. It's 86,550. That's the only fixed cost because that's not really negotiable because that's in our purchase or our offer to purchase. All the other items are estimated. So we would come in somewhere between the 177 or 178 and the 207. We can get firm costs to come in, but that we didn't have enough time to go to each of those pieces to get that. And there are some, especially when you're doing septic plans and approvals, you have to go through the state, you have to go through the town. So there's a lot of unknowns in terms of a cost associated with some of that as you get deeper into the project, even in terms of pre-development.
We'll have to vet this too, but is the full ask compliant with ARPA regulations?
Well, it's definitely serving a certain segment of the population that really does fall under ARPA. These units, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, these units would be considered affordable?
Correct. They would not be considered solely elderly. It doesn't exclude elderly, but Eldridge is elderly. If we added units, it would be affordable housing, not specific to just elderly.
It would be a separate entrance there also, separate buildings, but possibility of tying in into the water system since we already have a water company there.
Yeah, that would be the goal. The infrastructure kind of underground in terms of the well could be shared, and then the properties themselves would be separate.
Right.
So Jim, this is the other Ben. I didn't understand your answer to Ben's first question, Ben Pletsky's question. Is your ask to the ARPA fund 86,550 or the whole thing?
It would be the whole thing, but we can get firmer costs on some of those estimated costs. It would need to be the whole thing because the structure of a housing authority does not allow, we would have to find some type of grant funding to do any type of pre-development.
Jim, we're just going to bounce between the bends until we get this out of our system. But so one of the things that I'm looking for all our ARPA applications is seeing if there's matching grant opportunities, and we use this funding to sort of accelerate the process. So are you aware, or does any grant opportunity exist, especially since it's affordable housing, as a matching grant program where maybe if we're able to allocate 50% of this, you can find funds that bring it to the full balance?
There used to be. And we've accessed a number of those grants in the past number of years, but at the state level, they've changed how funding, the form that some certain funding's in. So at the current time, there is no opportunity for matching funds for what we're looking for. That doesn't mean it will change. It has an option to change on how the state legislature and state administration puts funding available to public housing and facilities like Eldridge.
Is there opportunity with the USDA rural development since we're
I have not looked
under
into that. I put this together with Jocelyn Ayer from, she was formerly worked at Northwest Cog, helped with the housing plan, and the housing consultant that was hired by the town last year to help us to talk to us about applying for a small cities block grant. So they had not mentioned anything other than this funding, and then there's potential through Jocelyn. And I don't know, Tom, if you know about LISC funding, have you been able to apply other ways for that?
No, we haven't, not LISC.
So,
We've done
so
small
there
cities.
is an opportunity to get some funding through them. But a lot of the alternate funding are considered loans. And for housing authorities to take on a loan can be very, very difficult. But I can definitely look into that, having a call with Jocelyn and ask about that list funding and how much that could potentially be.
The USDA has some loan guarantee type programs, and it does seem like they do have some grants, but it doesn't exactly, I bet you the grants don't align to exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and the loans, to just speak on the loans, a lot of the state funding has manipulated into loans, and it makes it very difficult. Morris is the smallest housing authority in Connecticut. That means we have the lowest income coming in. So it makes it very difficult to take on additional expenses. We've done a great job in the last 5 or 6 years to get out of the position we were in. We've just received our first clean audit ever in back-to-back years. So to just jump in to take out a loan would be very difficult.
So I was talking with Jocelyn this morning. This concept kind of does align with our plan of conservation development that we adopted this past year. And it does align with the housing plan, which we just adopted also to, hopefully get more affordable housing in the town of Morris. Say this does get approved and the property gets purchased, it's approved for, say, 4 units on that property. Would that be a small cities grant opportunity to do the construction?
Small cities cannot be used for new construction. Small cities is mainly a rehab program. So we would have to look at other funding opportunities to build after the pre-development is done. You look at just some options would be certain tax credit programs, certain Department of Housing programs. We haven't really gotten that far, so I don't have the full list of those opportunities, but it would not be small cities.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim?
Congratulations on your clean audits.
Thank you. It took us a long time, but we've done a nice job. We have so many state and state regs that we have to follow that limit what we can charge for rent. And so it takes, when you only get 20 rents in every month, it took a long time. So thank you. It was nice to hear the auditor. The last page was blank.
Is this captured in our spreadsheet now?
No, not yet.
No.
And does the committee want us to go and get firm costs on some of these items so there's not such a wide range and come in at one number potentially for the next meeting?
My basic thought is, we have a lot of requests coming in, and unfortunately you're one of many, but I feel like the more vetted the idea, the more clarification around the pathway forward. I think the easiest part is buying a piece of land for 86 grand. That's no brainer, but if you can clarify the numbers after that and clarify the pathway to suddenly have 20 units, it's not an easy road, but like you can clarify that pathway. I think that's going to give you credibility or more credibility in terms of ranking against other ideas that might not have all that information against them.
and just one thing from this point, let's say we purchase the land, we're looking out 4 to 6 years before occupancy. That's how long some of these grant opportunities take. So this is just the very beginning stages of a very long plan. It can take quite a long time from when you start this conversation to when occupancy would be. So it's I think we're in a good position putting this forward because it's in the two plans that have been approved, the housing plan, the conservation plan. And I can put as much detail as we can provide forward so everybody has the best picture possible when they go to approve the funds.
Jim, I had a question. This is Ron Schaefer. Hi, Jim. If the land was purchased, if ARPA gave money for the land purchase, and there was no money for the rest of the things you had on your list, I don't have the sheet in front of me, but is that a plan that the housing department can put together over time to make these units, or do you need this?
Yeah, so we would, it starts our clock once we have the land. We're working, I'm in constant contact with Connecticut Housing Finance Authority, which is our governing body, and Department of Housing of how to basically get our end goal of having units. And they're, purchasing the land is the key to all of this and starting that conversation at the state level. If there are going to be more than one round of funding through ARPA at the town level, we could initially come in for, let's say, 2 different rounds. One to purchase the land and do the well test, and then we really have a good idea of what the well can support as we move into some of those other the septic drawings, the architectural drawings, and some of that information. So we could come in 2 separate plans if there's going to be more than one round of this, and get some really good data from after the first round and come in for some of the other items.
Well, I guess my question is, besides ARPA and besides grants, is there money to be found? Then the housing department get money elsewhere or through?
So we receive no federal, state, or town funding. We have a requirement to keep $1,000 per unit in a reserve account. So that's only $20,000. So our reserve or savings account isn't even $30,000. And that's the state requirement of elderly housing. So we don't have funds to contribute very much to any type of pre-development or land purchase.
I understand. And as far as second round, unless Tom can add to this, there isn't really a second round of ARPA funds.
Because some towns are issuing out what they've already received, and
There's tranches, but it's still fixed.
Right, but we're looking at the whole pie. We're looking at the whole pie at once. The town's going to receive the money in 2 allotments, but we hadn't broken it down into looking at projects for the 2 different allotments.
okay.
Last question I have for you, Jim, is, there's a 40-person backlog on the waiting list for Eldridge. If this moved forward as affordable housing that wasn't age restricted, would this be a new wait list? Because my concern is if you then pillage from that existing list, you just created another unofficially an age restricted affordable housing complex. I'm excited with the idea of having something that's a little more universal for affordable housing.
Yeah, so it would have to be, people on the current waiting list could apply, but it would be a new waiting list because the current waiting list, like you said, is age restricted. So there are certain qualifications to get on it, and then there would be certain qualifications to get on this new list.
Okay, thank you.
Are we all good?
Excellent.
You all set?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jim.
Jim. What was the tally of the ask for this?
206,555.
So the land was 86,550. Total estimated cost was 177,550 to 206,550.
The biggest problem for them is the June 30th, I think it's June 30th deadline of
Yep.
of the
Option to
purchase and the current purchase agreement. Doesn't mean they couldn't purchase it after that, but it could be sold after that. So I guess his big thing is the purchase cost and dig the test well. Probably the biggest thing.
I don't know much about the property, but just knowing that it's co-located, there's a crazy waiting list. Operationally, I imagine that co-location is going to make it easier to just operate both those entities. And the fact that we really need this for a long time. And there's multiple commissions that already have, are behind this. So at the COGS level, there's support. I don't know if we need a motion for it, but I think it's favorable to look towards land acquisition for something for a specific use like this. It sounds like that there's a long time frame before, 4 years is 4 years. It could be 6. There's a lot of things that they can and can't control and money for these programs, even when it's available to some degree. So I think locking in the property would benefit Morris's long-term growth. And ARPA, we're here to rank these different projects. I personally like the long-term growth ones, which, aren't instantaneous, check boxes. These are things that will benefit us for, 15, 20, 30 years out.
This will be like the first investment in affordable housing Morris has done in 40 years, really.
Yeah, and having served on the Affordable Housing Commission, I think it would be an excellent use of ARPA funds, and as noted also is in the town plan, which was just adopted last year as well. So I think it checks a lot of boxes.
And funding for this rarely comes from a town municipal budget. This is the way they are set up. These are housing authorities or affordable housing committees that come up with the funding on their own to support these activities. And I guess this is a good way. It's not the town money, it's federal money being utilized for affordable housing.
So would the town own the land or would Eldridge own the
The
land?
housing authority would, yeah.
But how do you pay to actually you're basically got land and water. Who pays for the roof?
That's where
Jim's from.
that's where they go
Say
into.
that, but he's saying he barely has $20,000 a month now.
But that's why
Yeah,
affordable housing is such an uphill battle for every town, despite the requirements that we're supposed to.
I know, and that's what I'm saying.
That's where you get HUD funding, things like that from the government to actually do the actual construction of the project. There's hardly any money available to purchase property. It's strange. You can find the money to do the construction. To actually purchase the property.
Usually
is really the
donated
hardest
or-
part.
Right.
But that does bring us to the next point, is we were looking at projects that didn't cost the town money. Do we see, like you said, we can buy it. What happens tomorrow? They can't break ground without the funding. Does it come back to the town, or is there available grant money to build?
Well, the other part is the devil's in detail on that purchase agreement. So it could be something that's purchased with some sort of exit strategy clause. So for example, they get it, they can't do anything with it. They have the right to sell it. Where does that money go? Is that something that that's something that would have to be, that's a detail that we want to vet out before any paperwork was signed.
Well, that would be perk testing, right? It's
That was,
not up to the,
it's even more than that. Let's say it's all, I don't know anything about the property other than what's in this thing. What if it's all
Right.
wetlands?
But-
Or
if the wells bear out and all the water testing bears out, I would think it would be hard to get a real estate agreement that says, I couldn't afford to build on it, so you have to take it back. And I-
Well, no, the idea of the.
Take it back.
That's my question.
We're saying
Building.
lots
How do you
no, no.
build the building?
This is, money is intended for a purpose.
Exactly.
It's for affordable housing. If we purchase that land
Mhm.
and that land can't be used for that said purpose, then somewhere, Jim, this is something that we'd look to you on, I think the exit strategy would be liquidate that property because it adds no value to the goal. And then that money is earmarked as, Morris's, we tried, but that has to be earmarked as funding probably back to this original goal. How do we make affordable housing happen?
Well, that would be, and I'd go back to Rick, with that money, once it goes there, does it become housing authority money? It doesn't come back to the town in any way. It would always be in housing authority. If they had.
Well, the goal is, it's as long as it's enabling that end goal of creating affordable housing.
But it does, it gets you halfway there.
Right.
Right.
It gets
Nothing
you halfway
will
there.
get you all the way there.
But affordable housing is the subject of a lot of different programs that are not town, but are federal and state. And so unless the feds and staters are going to pull the plug on that, in which case they, we have gone through this planning process for the affordable housing for nothing. So I doubt they're going to. They have to put up or shut up. They can't say that we have to do affordable housing and not fund
Do
it.
they
in
have
some way.
programs?
So there's
now?
lots of different, it's not easy, but there are consultants out there who do nothing but help towns and housing authorities,
Developers coming in.
developers,
Okay.
affordable housing trust.
Asking the question
So
that
the answer is yes. There's lots
So-
of available.
there's available funding that if this is purchased, there's relative certainty if it passes the FERC test, that there'll be funding to build that won't come back to the town or won't come, or
Correct.
it will be federally funded.
Or state.
And also it will be a slow process.
Yeah.
Even when it's
And
fast.
just if I
I
could
just
comment
wanna-
on one thing on the land, we've already done the perk tests on the land and the land can support units.
Okay.
The land itself, we're just waiting on the well test. So that's the only determining factor at this point that we would be waiting on.
So, I mean, really, are they looking, is $120,000? Because everything else is, when you look at pre-development, architecture, housing consultant, that's all to build it.
Right.
So just to make sure it's viable, obviously you need the land, you need to make sure it has water, and you're gonna incur legal fees. So are those really the three things you need so that you can get grants to do all the rest of the stuff? So do you really need 200,000 or do you really need minus 85,000?
I'd be inclined to suggest the motion just to get the land locked in.
Well, that's what I'm just looking at this saying, because
Yeah, and that you're 100% right, that the first, before we get into the septic drawings, the architectural drawings, we would need those three items first. It's the money to purchase the land, and we do have that deadline that Tom had mentioned. The test well, and then the legal fees in terms of purchasing the land.
yeah, that's what I was saying. So
Yep.
the septic system, again, the building drawings and the consultant would actually be something you can get grants somewhere else that everyone's saying is easy to get to build the stuff.
There's potential pre-development grants are different than construction grants, which are different than rehab grants. So, or loans, or however the state, decides to put that funding. So there's probably opportunity there for some of those other line items. But the three big ones, as you said, are the land, the well, and then the legal fees to cover the sale of the land issues.
So about 130,000, 125,000 is the must just to get it started.
Yes.
Okay.
This is Ron again. How many acres is this?
It's 2.3, and I don't know if you can, or you don't have the sheet in front of you, but the fifth
That's what that
page
is.
or the last page of the proposal shows where we did the testing and shows the plot of land with the acreage.
That's 50,000 plus the 180, the 86.
And Jim, when you get a chance, we should add some number or some to the affordable housing on the spreadsheet just to get that.
Yeah, actually, that's, I think the right next step. I'd like to make a motion that we add it to the spreadsheet. Is that part of our process? Will we make a motion to do something like that?
Well, it's
Or
on
is that
there.
a conversation?
I think we just add.
I think we just added.
Never
We
added.
just added, we
I think
didn't.
we need a motion.
All right, I'd suggest we add a $136,550 line item to the spreadsheet. That would include purchase of land for 103 East Street, which is 2.3 acres. That would be $25,000. Sorry, Jim, I'm hedging low on your numbers here. That $25,000 to dig the test well and do the testing around water. And that would include pre-development for septic and site plan. That's $25,000. I think not captured in the spreadsheet, but something that we want to earmark is that this is only for affordable housing progression.
Correct.
So that, you know, if this land does not work out, it's still towards that idea moving forward. But if once we put it in there, then we have to decide like all our rankings, because this is up against everything else.
Yep.
It's a big take of the pie.
It's a big take of the pie.
It is.
The $86,000 number is prettier than the 136.
So this is on there under miscellaneous already. I guess you put a number to it, but then move it up to infrastructure or?
Well, there's affordable housing, but there's no number next to it, Ron. So we're adding a number.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's what he
No,
said.
he's trying to-
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's in the wrong bucket.
you move it up to infrastructure.
We created a new bucket of not really town.
Well, we have
Would probably be
infrastructure. I guess.
I would think it would be under infrastructure.
Yeah.
I mean, just a couple clicks away.
There you go.
Right. Got the spreadsheet.
I think Tom does.
Click away.
You need it?
I just know if we wanted to add it.
Oh, I think we're looking at a PDF.
That's a
Oh,
PDF.
it's PDF.
Can you scroll to the right on that?
One.
Where are we?
There it is.
So ARPA compliant, yeah. Publicly visible, yes. Infrastructure, yes. Other funding options. It's complicated.
We say no.
I hope so.
What's
Yeah,
that?
it's kind of
He
no.
says no for this portion.
Yeah, for
Oh, for this
land
one, yeah.
acquisition.
Especially for the land, no.
And then what's the top right one? Just says expense.
Oh, if it's gonna cost you.
Future
It's gonna cost future expense to the town.
To the-
No,
Or yeah, we should
Right.
say no to that. So
we should say
I
no.
definitely would.
Town is not on the hook to
It's
do.
my sticking point.
in fact, we should say,
Purpose.
make sure all those are.
That was what I was
Yeah,
asking.
all the future expenses should be no on all the yes.
Well, anything for ARPA, you know, we shouldn't be stuck with reoccurring costs because it kind of defeats the whole purpose of.
That was the point of my question. Yes.
Anything else on the, I guess it's the affordable housing line? No?
Nope.
Do we want to go down through how? We got to get into some sort of rating, got to get to a point where we're going to start taking some of these off the spreadsheet. And I don't know how you want to do it. Do you want to do kind of a survey, a rating survey that would send out to all the committee members and they send it back in like a survey monkey?
Well, Tom, I've been looking at this list. And I know these numbers, like, let's start with the mini excavator. We started out with originally 80,000.
Right.
And now we're up to 100,000. So when you go, I can't see that list, but say there was fire department or town air conditioning system. Now, is that a firm number or is that an estimate?
That was based on some estimates by several contractors from a couple years ago.
Right, but what I'm getting at is these numbers we have are not really firm numbers.
Yeah, but
So if they keep going up by 5 or 10,000, if you look at our bottom line, we're over.
oh yeah,
Oh, we're way over. We have to trim, we could
You have to
spend that money in a hot second. We have to prioritize, rank, and then vet at the
Because
same time.
we don't want to put the burden on the taxpayers for money that we received, and we have a wish list here that the taxpayers are going to end up paying the extra money, and it's not fair to the taxpayers.
No one's suggesting
we should, this money, we should get this money down to whatever money we received should be the money that we should be spending here.
I don't
think
think we can
that's-
go out though and get 3 estimates of construction estimates for all these recommended projects. I don't think it's just feasible. I mean, how are you going to do that? And we'll be here through next year trying to get all this done.
Well, we know some of the stuff that we wanted.
That's why we base it to the numbers off of estimates we already had. And plus, I think it's a way to stretch the taxpayers' dollars too, and also get something done in the town.
No.
So we can take, say, $30,000 for HVAC here, and it ends up being 35. We can pull 5,000 out of LoSiP. We're stretching these dollars as far as we can.
I want to address your concern is that last column, reoccurring expenses. I wanted whatever we spend here to be one and done. Like there shouldn't be, we should have the numbers whittled down to the point where there is no spillover into the taxpayer base. I think that's been our intent from day one. And not only for the, whatever the capital piece is, but the reoccurring costs. We want to make sure that that's not going to get us either.
But there are some items on there that we know we want to do, like the mini excavator. We know we want to do that.
And we can get that to the exact cost because I think we have that. It's like 90-something thousand.
And the sign that we wanted to put out in front, we know we want to do that, right? That's,
Well,
or no.
it's on the list. Doesn't
I don't
mean,
know about, yeah, I don't know if that's,
I think none of this is locked in. So
No.
I like the idea,
Is the Wicklow
but there might be a better idea. You know, I don't know.
They're probably,
There always is going to be a better idea.
is the Wicklow entirely closed or are we still in?
We should start to close it. I mean, I think it's been out there for a while as a group. Is there more stuff that people want?
I don't know.
Just one other thing, Vinny, I also want to see if
The answer is no. We just had it.
matching grant opportunities where we can say, hey, this is important to us.
Right.
We're not willing to go more than 50% because you have a pathway to get that other 50% through some paperwork. I want to make sure that like we can stretch these dollars as much as we can. And so,
And there is grant money because like the upgrade to the historical building.
Grant money.
All right, now I just read in the paper in the past couple of weeks, there is grant money out there for historical buildings to be upgraded.
it's
Park Hampstead just got a grant.
sort of. Yeah, well, we should push that onto them. Whoever promotes any of these stuff, we have the right to ask as many questions and dial it in. And let them put the onus on them to prove to us that
Well, all of them, not pick,
every single one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not singling anybody out, but at the bottom line, I don't want the taxpayers having to foot the bill for stuff that's kind of a wish list. And I know we're all agreeing on that. I just want to reiterate that
You know where it ends up that happens, right?
to you.
Well, as far as any non-town agency asks here, they're gonna have to apply for the funding. They're gonna fill an application. It's gonna have to be vetted. Do they really need it? Can they show their loss of funds due to the pandemic or whatever? And there's gonna be a reporting process afterwards for them to report to the town what in fact they use the money for, exactly what they use the money for. Because that burden falls onto the town of Morris and a lot on Rick's shoulders when it comes to reporting all this to the federal government, to the auditors, to all that. So any non-town agency is it's not a guarantee. They're gonna have to come through a process. Town of East Windsor did just this. I talked to the first selectman at a conference. And they did a really nice job with it. And we're kind of probably model what they did and bring it here to Morris on a smaller scale. They got a lot of money out there. But so it's not a guarantee that say you're gonna get 20,000. Well, you're gonna have to show us why.
So Kristen brought up, should we lock down the list? And my personal take on that is I think we should, but since the world is always changing, maybe the only exception would be if everyone knew about this program. I can't fairly say. It's been public that this process is happening, and I hope everyone that cares about it has already submitted something, so there was an opportunity to do so. I suggest we lock down this list. But if there's something that comes up based on world timing, like if something changes tomorrow that was just unforeseen and then an opportunity comes up that should be added to this list, we consider it, not necessarily add it, but we can have a conversation around it. But just to keep our life simple, because it's already,
Getting
Every time we come in, there's
Right.
3 more.
yeah, we're gonna have to be
things
unmerciful at some point and start, you know,
added. Yeah, we're going in the wrong direction.
Party, I mean, I'm definitely very late to the party, so forgive me. I was just hoping to see some senior center representation on that list too. But maybe it can tie in under the security camera umbrella, because I think that would be beneficial down there. It is such a remote area. I'm pretty isolated, especially in the evening.
Security, like a security,
Yeah.
like light, like an automatic light in camera,
Well, yeah, something like that.
motion center light, like maybe a motion sensor.
I think it's a camera system that can be monitored.
the need is driven from the vandalism. So that's a cause and effect type thing. But like,
You know, there was a big break-in over at Eldridge several months back. Jim can attest to that.
Do you have that stuff like in a list form with prices?
I don't, but I noticed there was security cameras under item number 7. You know, listing hotspots throughout town. I was just hoping that the city.
Yeah, we cut that one.
included as a hotspot.
Yeah, we have that.
That one got-
No,
Could you put,
There is
I mean, I don't mind making that exception because you're here now. I just think as a group, we have to say, we kind of have to end it because every time I've come here, we've added
so
$100,000 more to a list that's already 500,000 over.
something we could do as a first round exercise is we, and if you want to add that or not, I don't really, so, you guys talk it through, but we could take this list and each of us, you add a ranking to it and you'd add 1, 3, or 5. And the reason why you don't do, 1 through 10, if you do 1, 3, and 5, you'll create separation. When you add everything up, you can see the winners. And if each of us independently do that ranking, we can then kind of reflect on the list and say, hey, it seems like we care about these ideas the most or resonate with them the most. And then we can start getting into the details to look at the numbers to, say, these numbers are representative of the idea. They're fully executable by the party that brought them to us.
I think one thing you also should look at too is it all or nothing? If they can't get the full ask, is it off the table? So say like Morris Historical Society, they want 100,000. Well, if they get 30, can they do something with it? The answer would be yes there. But if you ask 90,000 for an excavator and you only get 35, well, I guess you can't get it, right?
Well, I'm thinking like if we do that ranking based on the idea.
Yeah.
And then start getting into the numbers to see like, all right,
Yeah.
they need $1,000 and we have 30 cents for them, it doesn't make sense. But like, if we can help them, motivate them to get to that finish line, or they have a pathway to do so, I don't know.
Just, can you make a list and get it to Tom of like a cost or what you'd want for the senior
It's not a
center?
long list. It's really not.
Would you be able to add those in? I mean, I think,
so if we could
We
add,
gotta get to the point where we're,
so add the senior center thing, get the
But I hate
sent to
to-
everybody, give us a deadline. I take it that lower is more urgent. So if you really like something, it's 1, Ben, under your.
I was thinking the opposite.
Okay,
but
no,
I
5 is
appreciate you
better.
Asking that question.
Yeah, so the more points, the better. Okay. So give us a
different.
deadline to rank them all. And then the final thing is, I think we have one other time sensitive one that Ron has talked about it, I think every meeting. But before we
The
we
CSA,
should go back to the CSA, but I like the idea that Tom suggested that, and Ben suggested we rank them, add the thing from the senior center, and then start triaging. That makes a lot of sense, but I think before we end this meeting, we need to hear from Ron because he's got some time sensitivity, just like Jim did with the land.
Cool. Thanks, Ben. Well, yeah, whatever spreadsheet we have to make sure we all have the same spreadsheet that we're ranking. Okay, so that's important. It should be titled and have a date and everything. Okay, Jim or whoever's making it, because people have different spreadsheets, I think.
yeah,
yes.
So the Morris Fresh Food Grant, can we change that? Because it should be the Morris Fresh Food Grant, not Morris Food Grant, item 17. And the cost on there is 15,000. That's for apparently like 3 years or so. I I think it'd be okay to just have it for a year and it's, try to have funding elsewhere. But as far as last meeting, I was asked to check with the, what's it called, the Food Hub. And, we got information from them that they might be able to give money to the town to purchase random food items weekly from the Food Hub, but to the food bank, I mean. But I think this fresh food grant idea is much more convenient and easy for everyone. And it's, so we could knock it down to 33,750 for 6 shares. And then
I'm sorry, say that number again. It just went up.
3,000 what?
3,750 for 6 shares. And actually the Hungry Reaper Farm would throw in another share. So it'd be 7 shares for 3,750. So 7 families would get weekly food, fresh food that they would pick up at the farm. I think that's a good use of this funds. And from there, try to have people over time for future years, give donations to Hungry Reaper Farm or whoever to then have Hungry Reaper Farm have some money to allocate to CSH shares going forward. But I think just for this year, 2022, be a good start. And also we'd have to purchase these funds by the end of February for this to work, or otherwise they don't have enough shares to go around. So that's the ask, I think. And that would knock the 15,000 down to 3,750.
7 families, right? That's 7 households?
7 families, yeah.
And what do you want the name to be called? Not instead of Moore's Food Grant, what do you want?
Fresh food grant.
Fresh.
Fresh. Just add the word fresh.
Okay, we don't have to yell at them.
Obviously different.
I don't know, that's what he said.
Rick, I have a question for you.
Ron, I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah,
Vinnie Aiello. So on this, it's 7 families and more.
Yeah. they would apply or say, Laurel from the Morris Food Bank or Tom or whoever, knows, would either have these families apply for it to get the 7 people, or maybe they know them already. So yeah, go on. Sorry.
Well, I'm just wondering, are they taking advantage of what the town has to offer right now?
Well,
You said-
according to Laurel and the food bank, Morris Food Bank, there are lots of families and at least 6 or 7 a week that really come and need stuff from the pantry and so on. So is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, we through this whole summer and through the friends and neighbors, we've been giving food boxes out.
Yeah.
All summer long.
Yeah.
And we have a pop-up pantry once a month at the church.
Yeah.
That is offered to not only residents of Morris, but anybody that needs help with some food services. And with our own pantry right here, I was just asking, are they taking advantage of that also?
Go ahead, Mira. This is my wife, Mira Peck. She's wrote the grant as well with me.
Hi. Yes, so Laurel has said that there are basically 6 families that she knows of that come to the pantry every week, and they get pantry items, and she says that they would really appreciate, she knows that they appreciate fresh food even more, and so this would allow them to get fresh food, so fresh produce, which is healthier, and it's only Morris residents from getting produce from this local Morris farm. So it's helping the residents plus supporting a local business and supporting agriculture in the town.
And what farm do you have in mind?
Yeah, it's the Hungry Reaper Farm. It's the only farm that offers a CSA in town.
We don't have many farms here.
It's the Indian.
The one.
It's located across the street from Winvian.
Yes, I know where, yeah, I'm familiar with them.
And they like I said, they were excited about it and threw in a extra share for the town.
Thank you.
And then Tracy, you had a question?
She forgot it.
No, I'm just wondering if I want to throw it out there. It's,
Okay.
I guess I'm questioning the limitation on it. It's limited to. So if 10 people wanted it, this is a situation where only 7 would be able to get it.
Well,
Is
that's a
there
very,
any way to increase it?
well,
I
that's a
mean, if
very-
it's popular,
So the easiest way might be the 2022 Farm Viability Grant, and this is the thing, stretching the dollars. So this
Right.
is a matching grant through the USDA. It closes out, I forgot the end date, but it's fairly soon. It's in February, I believe.
right,
But these are all programs that pushing to double dip on to maximize our dollar.
Can municipalities apply for that?
I'll send you the presentation, or I'll look, I'll answer that.
Because
as-
if we can apply for that, the town definitely would and match the dollars and then.
I'm looking at the limitation of it.
It's gotta be a
not-
limit at some point, though.
Well, I mean, there has to be a limit, but I think like,
Municipalities with the current plan.
but you
of
don't want to say,
conservation.
well, you know, I don't like the exclusionary part of it. You know, it's a food grant. It's a food sharing thing. We do a great job in town and Vinny's group does a great job. I just, you know, I know there's more than 6 or 7 families that, whether they reach out here or through your group, the need is greater than.
Yeah.
So how do we maximize if 10 families, if we say, great, we'll do the 6 shares and the 7, and then we sign up and then 3 more families come, do we have to turn them away or can we, like Ben had, you know, or Tom was talking about maximizing this? I don't want to turn
Or-
people away
Or if
from
it's
this.
double the amount of half shares,
Yeah,
and then it can be supplemented.
Yeah,
yeah,
they
but
have a half share option where you just pick it up every other week instead of every
So-
week.
Okay.
You
So would
could-
this be, I'm sorry, would this be delivered to the town hall?
no,
No,
that's
no,
what
that's
makes
the
it
point.
better, too.
That everyone would go to the farm and pick it up
There's
themselves.
a Friday afternoon is the day. I guess they.
We'd offer transportation if needed for the food.
I just-
We do that now.
Why don't
So
we do it through social services?
you can, but you need the funding.
I mean, I like the idea. I don't like the limitations. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Oh, does-
then it said we could expand double it if you went to half shares. If you had 14 people apply for it, you just go half shares and then you're 14 of
I guess
immediately.
Especially 2 people.
it's the question that we just don't understand the demand, so we don't know how, we don't have
Maybe we
the
don't
problem
know
clearly
the-
defined, so we can't define the, or we can't
I don't know.
create a solution.
Right, we're putting a number to it, but we don't have the numbers. So what's bothering me is that there's a finite number to it.
It's gonna make it better, but it might not fix this year's issue.
And
And
it
the
may
other,
be very popular. I don't wanna, I'm not trying to kill it. I'm just saying, you may find that you have 15 families, or whatever. Can we respond to
What's
that?
the solution then?
the other thing was an application where the applicants, people actually apply and give a reason for, or how many people in their family and so on. And we say we only have 7 shares and of the 10, 20, 15 families that apply within a certain time, they, whoever looks at their income or their need and that's picked.
And Ron, does that farm sell out of their shares every year?
Good question. I don't know, but they've,
So there may be a limit there.
yeah, well, that's why they said they usually end their shares at the end of January or they're full or done, but they were going to hold these for us to the end of February. So I'm sure that they get pretty, you know, they're pretty much sold out. So I don't know. And yeah, well, that's why there was the 15,000 because that was either going to spread it out over more people over 1 year or over more years, less people over more years. So, you know, I understand not wanting to limit it to a certain amount of people.
Yeah.
But that's
Well,
why.
I'd rather overdo it. And then what I was gonna ask you, which I'm sure I know the answer, is we were talking about, like right now, there's $100,000 that's earmarked out of this pie for an excavator. If it costs 95,220, I'm assuming the balance goes back into what would be the general fund of ARPA.
Sure.
So it's not like you have to go and buy, I don't know, you know, like a horn for it, because cost exactly that much. It's gone, it's not like capital. Right? It would be
Yeah.
more loose, like a general fund project.
Yes. Yeah, no, we don't,
So,
again, we don't put nothing into the system. We only put in what we spend. We don't put in what we wish.
so the balance sheet.
So that, you know what I mean? So.
So basically, if you're asking for 3750, which is like nothing. So if we overspent on it and didn't use it. And then we could get numbers because we don't have a clue what the numbers are.
Actually, you may know real soon how much we can actually overspend on that, because if they sell out shares, that'll be it for the year.
It's over, but then I wonder if there's a different avenue we should take. It's the
How about
limitation
this?
of it
How
that,
about-
you
There
know.
are other farms in town that might do food, shares.
There's not though.
Cause I don't know if, there's the guy, on Stoddard Road,
Oh, Richard,
Richard.
what's his name?
I don't know if he does food shares, and there's the guy that lives over by the transfer station that does farmers markets, John. And I don't know if they do food shares.
I guess
They're not signed up.
from my just experience that the Hungry Reaper is the only one advertising public, like, so I don't know. You might be right.
So I would
Or do we have to
suggest, I would
stay down if it's
suggest
a
that
popular
this
program?
committee
Right.
recommend to the selectmen, they approve a minimum of 3750 so that we can get those shares locked in for a minimum of 7 families. And then, once that's done, if you end up with more money in the pot or more families and more shares, you can come back. But at least we lock that in so we don't blow by the February deadline.
Yeah.
Because it's a minimal cost. I think Ron's made an excellent, Ron and Min have made an excellent case for it. And sure, and then if later, if someone comes up with an additional farm that wants to participate, they can come back if there's still money around. But there's no reason to just put everything off until we have it perfectly figured out, because then we'll end up with doing nothing.
No, that's a good idea.
I agree with that.
I agree.
Now, are we making another purchase? Are we making another recommendation?
Yes, we're making I propose that we recommend that the selectmen approve 3750 for this item. Now,
Can you say
And-
for the Morris Fresh Food Grant?
for the Morris Fresh Food Grant with the Hungry Reaper Farm in Morris, Connecticut, 06763, USA.
I'll second it.
I don't know.
But I do think there's other avenues to look into,
Fine, bring them to us.
because
Sure.
there is a lot of food opportunities out there.
Oh, we send people down to Watertown all the time. They do fresh food right there. You just pick them up and
Sure.
they give it to you.
Bring
There's
it.
no vetting process. You just.
Right.
I think it's almost like
Right
there
there.
needs to be an aggregate of all these resources for people, and maybe that's the problem that
Yeah.
they're all existing, they're all for the same cause, but they might not be collaborative or integrated at this.
One
point.
of the
Right,
problems,
who collaborates?
Can I call the question? Can we have a vote on, there's a
I
motion
think
that's been
there's a
seconded?
Discussion is what.
Well, I
we're
call the
having now.
question.
I don't know if Ron can second this.
You don't think he can second
I
it?
don't think.
He can second it, but we do have discussion on the motion.
Well,
I think that's what Vinny was doing. There is discussion on the motion,
I
right?
thought we could call the,
Well, you didn't call the question.
We can.
We're gonna vote on it, but I just think there's other avenues to look at. There's a lot of food out there, opportunities, but the problem is people either don't have access to it or they don't want to take the time and go get it. And that's what I found. And, but there is a lot of food opportunities up there.
We'll work on that on the side and, try to get the word out of all these opportunities. Like, people may know that the friends and neighbors do something over there, and they don't know Town of Morris does something here. But
Mhm.
Probably have to do a better job getting the word out about those.
So that could be something just in the website where every group that's doing something, it's all one spot.
And I was picking up 30 boxes of food whenever Food Share had them. And I was having a tough time distributing them.
Wow. Yeah.
Because people just didn't want to come to the town hall to pick them up. Now, Bethlehem has a tremendous food bank down there. And they're open 3-4 days a week. And they,
Are they having the same problem where people aren't coming to get it?
people come down there and pick it up.
So I guess it's important just to understand the root cause of why.
Why? Right.
That's all.
Yeah, what's,
But Ben's right. There's a motion open. I
Is
don't know.
there
If
any
I
other
can-
discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
nay,
Tracy opposed? Anyone, anyone abstain? Ben abstain? Let's abstain. Okay, so I think for our next meeting, I was hoping we could put together a public forum sometime soon, but I think before we do that, we have to get this list. Rating system, make it very clear what the numbers mean. And we'll all work off of the same spreadsheet.
If you send me the updated spreadsheet, I'll send out the rules.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure you're clear on the numbers.
Yeah, we rating by group.
the
The
updated
basketball
spreadsheet, take
tournament?
that,
Yes.
those two. I mean, the 100,000 is gone,
Well,
right? But you guys vote, that's,
No, it's just a suggestion.
Well, did the selectmen? vote on
no,
it?
they voted on it. Yeah, it's done.
Okay,
It's a
good.
done deal.
It's not done.
It's not done.
No, because
Why is it?
we voted on it.
Yeah.
But we have to get bids on this.
We did,
You got 3 bids on it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, does this have to go to a town meeting?
doesn't have to.
No, it's ARPA funds, so it's done. Like,
Oh, it's coming out of this money.
Yeah,
that's why I kind of vote nay, because I public input before we spend the money. That's kind of what I was going.
Well, I've been looking and almost every town is voting at a town meeting to allocate this money to be spent.
Based on what I was told from CCM at the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities Convention from, I can't remember his last name or even his first name right now.
About his middle
He
name.
said, treat this, every town should really treat this the same way they receive, they like car, low SIP, things like that. That's what he told us at the conference. Towns can do it any way they want it to. I think there's got to be an effort of transparency in all this,
I would think so.
so people are aware. I think by forming this committee and the size of this committee and given pretty broad representation of people in town here, we're doing a pretty good job of, bringing together all the different ideas and keeping people informed too. Plus, these recordings are available on the website. So we can talk about that at the selectmen's meeting if you'd like, next time, whether or not a town meeting or not.
Okay.
But going back to my question about the spreadsheet, is that we had a vote here that passed and it went to selectmen and passed. When we get the spreadsheet, the 100,000 would be taken out of the original fund. And we just made a motion and we passed 13 or 3,750, which would come off.
Right,
Yeah,
Right.
right.
yeah.
So
So if you look here, guys, if you look at the spreadsheet, there's a column that says project totals 100,000. So that's the spend, government appropriation 667. The difference, we still have 567,000 to go.
Right.
So you don't want to take what you're doing off the sheet because people are going to try to backtrack where the money go.
Right.
So right now you have it dropped.
sheet,
What's that?
yes.
Yeah,
So
it's
stay
on the sheet. No, that's why there's a column that says approved and the approved column. Now I do need to move it over to the other side of the 800,000. But that's where you're gonna see the totaling of what gets approved in this. 3750 is gonna drop in. That's gonna say 100,000, 3750. You see what I'm saying? It's gonna keep deducting to say how much money.
Yeah, we need to keep track of, and I
It's
need
on the
to point out that.
It's on the spreadsheet.
It's on the
That-
spreadsheet.
We're taking the money, just so it's clear, and then when we start to total, it goes to now 564.
Correct. And it will be as soon as that gets out of a PDF and I'll send it to you. The only thing is when we start ranking, are we ranking all projects?
I was thinking about that. So a couple of comments. One is, since they're all up against each other, we probably should just do that 1, 3, 5 ranking against everything.
Mhm.
Now, this ranking that's not the answer. Like at the end of the day, it's just gonna provide us a little more information to see where we're all like, what we're feeling. And then we have to go through the numbers to make sure that we're not overspending or anything like that. So there's still a lot more work. The other part is, this ranking is just kind of a tool for us to start prioritizing these and start cutting away. Like if there's like 5 that are, let's say there's one that's like got no votes or has the lowest ranking, let's get rid of it, right? And hopefully there's a whole bunch that have really low votes. We can get rid of all of them to make our lives easier because we're not gonna make everybody happy. And so that ranking system is really just, let's just do some weeding out of things first pass. But we're still not gonna get an answer after doing that. And it's not gonna be the highest vote because then we have to talk a little bit about the strategy of what's there.
We'll have less questions after that.
Yeah. This
Hopefully to clear away. some of the under-
Start back.
is a way to start fitting the herd.
We definitely have to start.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the selectmen are gonna look at some sort of public input because we're making.
I would think so.
We keep spending and we
No.
we haven't invited them in.
Put a 1 against,
I would like to see public.
So I'm getting a little,
tally them all up and we'll see what's.
Jumpy.
Me
they
too.
get cranky.
Exactly.
I know this,
For the purpose of Zoom, let's have one conversation.
sorry.
Can I just
Answer.
tell you that I just gave out the library request, which has been on here since A1. But I had sent this paper to Tom, but I never presented anything on it. So when you're ranking and you see MPL, Morris Public Library,
That's what it is.
this is the detail of
Gotcha.
what we are requesting.
Very helpful.
And if you have questions on it, I could probably answer them.
This would come to us as an Excel and then you want us to rank it or do you want us to? How do you want to put the numbers in?
There'll be a column. It'll be all set.
Ben's gonna explain everything.
We'll have detailed instructions. It'll be like putting it together IKEA couch.
Can we wait at the senior center too?
I just have
Yes,
to back
you
in.
have to add the senior center.
I already did my own spreadsheet and I gotta back in that.
I think Tom and Ben agree. We're adding the security cameras to be ranked as well. Or whatever it is. Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yes.
I'm right. You want Kristen to get you the numbers and get that in?
Yeah, I mean,
panel?
I did get numbers and I didn't put it on this spreadsheet. I think we'll figure out a different way to pay for it, but down, just so you have an idea, down at the Town Beach, it's about $17,000 for a security system, camera system. Upgrade the current fire and burglar system is about, I think it was around $2,500. So you're probably around 20 grand for the recreation area down at the beach. But the problem is, as you know, the current system we have there is quite useless.
It really is, yeah.
Limited cameras, horrible. I mean, you can't make out what
Quality,
anything
yeah.
is on
Right.
these cameras. And we did have a lot of vandalism. I didn't put it into this. Maybe we can talk to the Board of Finance at some point, capital. If there's any money left in low SIP, things like that. We'll find ways to spend that. But if you want to throw the senior center in, I think you're probably looking at, based on the beach, you're probably looking like $15,000. If you really want to get good coverage down there. Maybe less if you want less. But we can get Berkshire Alarm out there and take a look.
Tom, we just did the housing authority and it was inside 10 just for our complex with 10 cameras.
How
So,
much?
inside it was 9,600 for a system in my office and 10 cameras.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe around 10 to 15. Inside, outside. But yeah, if we get that as soon as possible, so we can get that on the sheet and get the sheet out to everyone to get the ranking done.
Okay.
And give us a good deadline and hound people to get it done, please.
What's today? All right.
Today is the 20th.
20. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of that, what do we want to do for our next meeting?
February 3rd at 2. It's 2 weeks from now.
February who?
I think it's February 3rd is 2 weeks from now.
The Monday?
That's
Is that-
Thursday.
I typed it last night.
I won't be able to come to that one.
Want to give us time to get the quote and all that? You want to do the 10th of February?
Sure.
Does that work for everybody?
That works for me, yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
No, Maureen is saying, oops,
No, I said yes.
oh, okay.
Sorry.
February 10th.
So by then we will have the ranking and we can start to whittle it down. Is that it?
Yeah,
Should.
so we're all, we voted on it, but the Moore's fresh food thing, let's go.
Yeah.
So we can pull money out of the current ARPA funds for that.
I need an invoice.
We'll have to get an invoice from the farm.
Yeah, I need an invoice from the farm and then someone needs to approve it and then I can pay it. And I'm probably gonna need their W-9. I don't think we do business with them.
No,
So I'm gonna need their W-9 also. And then we could cut them a check and it's good to go.
Who has to approve it? Tom?
Yeah.
I'd like to try to get that to the Board of Selectmen too.
Well, I think you guys have to, aren't you guys gonna approve it there first?
Yeah, we have to.
But we sign off on it.
How many, you remember how many shares that was again?
Seven,
7?
well, 6 and 1 free.
6 and 1 donut.
Well, I'm sorry, it's not to open up, but like, was it 7 or was it 14 half shares?
So
It was,
Depends on the
it depends on
application,
the application.
number of applications.
Yeah, I mean, I could see a family of 2, and we only need a half share. We can't go through this much produce in a week or 2. We have that problem. Gallons of milk, people just can't use it.
I think it was 6 pairs. Then we'll divide it up
Chopped up.
Yeah.
however it's chopped up.
Okay.
Thanks.
Next meeting is 2 o'clock then on February 10th?
Yeah.
O'clock, does this work? We do February 10th. What?
We'll do 2:30. Or 3.
2:30?
Sure,
Is that crazy?
2:30, okay.
30's fine.
All right. Anything else? No other business, motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Yeah, we always do a motion.
3:21.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Ron. Hey, Marie.
Take care.
Heading that way.
Educate me on this.
Oh.